to Comet's quarterly webinar. My name is Ida, and I'm the product manager here at Comet. For those of you who have joined our previously quarter webinars, I'd say that this is a bit of a surprise to you to hear my voice instead of Mason's voice right now. But as you can see, and you've seen Mason for a while now, we have Comet CTO with us. How are you today, Mason?
I'm good. A little bit dramatic start to the webinar, but I'm feeling just fine. So how are you?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, I got a little bit stressed, but now I'm fine.
Yeah, cool.
Happy to be back. So you've done these webinars by yourself over the last few years. How many has it been?
So we've been doing these for a while, and I've done 26, mostly just by myself. So today will be episode 27.
Yeah, that's quite an achievement. It's great being here with you today, and big thanks to everyone who's joining us live as well. If you have any questions during this session, please post them in the chat, and our support team will do their best to answer them. And then at the end, if there's any questions left, we'll try to answer those too. Today, we'll cover two things. First, we have our official VMware Backup launch. And then we'll go through what's new in our latest quarterly release. So lots of exciting things coming up. VMware Backup. Many of you have voted for this feature to be implemented, and it feels amazing to be able to say that Comet's new backup type is finally here. We're super happy to announce the launch of our latest product offering, VMware Backup. Do you want to say it too, Mason? VMware Backup is here?
Sure. So we're very proud to announce the public launch of our new VMware protected item type in Comet.
We are. With Comet's VMware Backup type, you can easily, quickly, and securely back up the VM's configuration file, all attached virtual drives, log files, and more. To be able to take advantage of this, you'll need to be on VMware Spare version 6.7 or higher. Does everyone know what VMware vSphere is? Hopefully, the VMware terminology is well known to you, but if not, here's a short overview. VMware vSphere is the virtualization platform, and vCenter and ESXi are components that works within that platform. So basically, VMware vCenter is the server management component, and VMware ESXi is the I can never pronounce that word. Virtualization. Can you help me, Mason?
You got it. Virtualization.
Virtualization. Yep. Okay. ESXi is the virtualization component, which is a piece of software that gets installed directly on the physical hardware. So, in other words, you can use ESXi to create virtual machines, and then use vCenter to manage them. And with Comet, you can protect all of your VMware vSphere environments. Let's have a look at the top business benefits of using Comet's VMware Backup. The first one is that you can protect both free and paid ESXi licenses, and that's pretty great. The second benefit is that with change block tracking, you will reduce your backup times. And with Comet's deduplication technology, you'll minimize your storage costs too. You can also remotely manage the VMs from the web. All great benefits. There are lots of VMware specific features, and you can read all about them on our product website. What we'd like to specifically call out here is that our new product offering is well integrated with the rest of the Comet platform. For example, every backup is compressed and encrypted, and your backup jobs are incremental forever, and deduplication is used for great efficiency, and it works with cloud storage. Now over to you, Mason, for the VMware Backup demo.
Sure. So I will talk you through the process of setting up the VMware protected item and running through your first backup. So the first thing to know about VMware is it is a protected item type, and that means you need a device to run on. So this device is going to do all the work of compressing and encrypting and talking to the VMware data store. So you'll need to install Comet somewhere, maybe on a VM inside your VMware infrastructure or outside of it, but you'll install Comet, open the app, and click to create a new protected item. So choose VMware from the list and then click Next. The first thing you'll have to do is configure the protected item to talk to your VMware server. And this can be either an ESXi server or a vCenter server that is managing multiple ESXi servers. But either way, Comet will communicate data directly with the underlying ESXi server to retrieve data from the data store over the NBD protocol. So we click OK. And once you fill in those settings, we've got the test connection button. And the test connection tells you if Comet was able to reach out to your VMware server correctly, and just make sure that you've got your credentials correct. Then we click Next. And on the next screen, you can pick and choose virtual machines for backup. So we've just clicked the plus button to open the Browse dialog. If this is an ESXi server, you'll see all of your virtual machines. And if this is a vCenter server, then you might see multiple data centers in the names here. And you can either select individual VMs, or you can check the top box for all virtual machines and then exclude anything you want. And then we click OK to close this dialog. And the last setting down here at the bottom is what mode to run the backup job in. So right now, Comet supports latest VM state and with or without change block tracking. So change block tracking means we ask the VMware server only for the incremental virtual machine changes since the last backup. And those incremental changes get merged into, I guess, a kind of synthetic full backup job, but then that synthetic full backup job is deduplicated Comet side against the previous synthetic full backup. So it's incremental forever. It's efficient when reading from VMware, and it's also efficient when storing into your Comet storage vault. So of these two options, change block tracking is faster. It's the default, and it's our strong recommendation. Change block tracking does have to be enabled inside VMware for each virtual machine, and if it's not enabled, Comet will automatically fall back to standard mode, and in standard mode, the backup job will take a little bit longer, but it still gets deduplicated inside Comet, and so it is still incremental backup, incremental forever. And so once you hit Next and Save here, you will be prompted to run a backup job. And so for the first backup job, we always have to read all of the data from VMware. There's no way to avoid that. And this will create those virtual machine backups inside the storage vault. And it will also save VMware change tracking information so that on the next backup job, the next backup job will only have to read the change blocks from VMware. And so it's much faster for your incremental backup jobs. So that's it. That's the whole process. Back to you, Ida.
Thank you, Mason. Now to the VMware pricing. The price for VMware Backup is $5 per VMware guest per month. To learn even more about Comet's VMware Backup, please have a look at our website, at our documentation, and watch our VMware video. Or you can just try it out straight away. Now it's time to have a look at what's in our latest quarterly release. Very exciting. But before Mason starts us off, a quick note about our existing Hyper-V Backup. We're currently working towards releasing our new Hyper-V Backup 2.0 offering next year, which means that we'll be retiring our existing Hyper-V Backup at the same time. And to prepare for this, we'll be previewing new technology in the Voyager series and adding further capabilities to Hyper-V Backup as we work towards the launch of Hyper-V Backup 2.0. Now over to you, Mason.
Sure. So I'll just say a few things about 23.11 Saturn. So the 23.11, that's the year and the month. So we release new Comet versions every week under the Voyager release track. And then every quarter, 4 times a year, we take all of our regular weekly Voyager development and roll it up into these big quarterly milestone releases. So every 3 months, new release with a new released code name. And so all of our product code names are named after solar system objects. We started out years ago with Comet Mercury in the inner solar system, and the Comet Venus and Earth and the Moon and so on. And we got further and further out, Mars, Jupiter, moons of Jupiter. And recently, all of our quarterly code names have been moons of Jupiter. But with the recent addition of VMware support this quarter, we thought adding a big new feature deserves a big new planet. And it is big. Saturn is huge. It's the second largest planet in the solar system after Jupiter. And after so many quarterly releases where I've been talking about, very small moons that are very far away, and it's been quite hard to get a good photo of Adrastea or Lysithea for example. But for Saturn, obviously, there are many wonderful photos and it's stunning to look at. So just a quick few space facts about Saturn. Saturn is big enough that you could fit about 760 Earths inside it. And despite its enormous size, it has a relatively fast rotation. It spins in only 10 and a half hours. So a day on Saturn would be 10 and a half hours long. And that means when you spin something around, you know, the force of that spinning really causes it to bulge quite a lot in the equator. But enough about the name. What about the features? Back to you, Ida.
Thanks, Mason. That's some great facts. I think I need to remember that Saturn is big enough to fit, what, 760 Earths?
Yes, yeah.
Well, that's good. So, Saturn includes 8 new features, 23 enhancements, and even more improvements. We'll go through some of them now. And first out is the Devices page. In the Comet Server UI, we've renamed the Connected Devices page to the Devices page, and at the same time made several improvements here. You can now see all your devices that have been connected to Comet Server on this page, and not just the online devices. And this extra information makes it easier for you to see what state each of the devices connected to your server is in, and this also helps with troubleshooting. We've also added bulk actions here, and the bulk actions, they allow you to manage your devices much faster than before. And the idea is that in the future, we'll add more options for the bulk actions. So if you have any specific wishes, please just let us know. The last improvement we made to this page is that we add a status filter, so you can filter your devices by status. And this has actually also been linked to the Comet Server dashboard. So if you go to My Devices there, and then you click on Device Status, it'll take you back to this page, the Devices page, and the page will be filtered by the device status that you choose in the dashboard. So that's pretty great improvements. Hopefully you think so too. The main reason we decided to make these changes was so that we could implement the next feature, remote registration. As you might know, Comet already allows you to silently install and configure the software on your customers' devices, but we wanted to make this easier for you. And with the new remote registration feature, you can now remotely register and assign devices to a user profile right from the Comet Server UI. And when you do that, the device will appear as unregistered, as you can see on the screen, on this Devices page. And then you use the Register button to the right to register to a user's profile and remotely assign credentials. And I'm sure you're interested in hearing a bit more technical details about this. Mason, can you please expand a bit on this?
Sure. So there's a lot of great benefits to this concept. First of all, from your RMM, if you have an RMM, you now only need one command to download the exe and one command to run it. So I've seen some very complicated RMM scripts in the past, and now they can be simplified a lot. The new process is you simply run, the Comet installer /lobby. And so this will install the Comet and silently and connect it to the lobby. So lobby was our code name for this feature. And I'm not sure if that's, is it New Zealand English or is it American English? But just to be clear, a lobby is like a reception area or a waiting room. You do not need any credentials to enter the lobby. So the device is just visiting your server. It has no permissions on your server, but it's sort of one step in the front door. It's unregistered. And it's up to you if you want to welcome this device in any further into your server or not. You might choose to dismiss it if you don't recognize the device. The lobby is a one-time only feature. So if you dismiss the device or if it disconnects, it won't reconnect. The endpoint device will just stay logged out. But if you do recognize it, like I ran this RMM script, I expect it to show up, and then inside Comet Server on the screen here, it shows the customer's computer name for you to compare against. You click this one button, register, and you can create a username and password for a new user account. Or you can click the drop-down actually to give the username and password of an existing user account, and that customer's endpoint PC will continue to silently register itself and silently log in to that user account. So this is all about making silent install easier and simplifying those RMM scripts down to just one single command. Because previously, the old way of doing it was you had to create the username and password first and put that username and password into the silent install command line. And that's complicated for management. It means everyone needs a slightly different RMM script, and there's a window of risk there if the password could be exposed at any point in time. So this new solution with unregistered devices is much more secure because the credentials are transported in a more secure way using a live connection between the endpoint device and the Comet server. And by using this connection, it hides the password delivery and keeps that secure. We did have one other solution for this, which was the server-side token feature, but this new lobby mode is even easier to use than that. So lobby mode, great improvement for our silent install feature, makes your RMM scripts much simpler because you can use the exact same simple single command across hundreds of devices, gives you that better control around bulk deployment at that sort of scale. So back to you, Ida.
Thank you for that, Mason. Like you said, the best part about this feature is that it'll save you a huge amount of time, and you have your customers' backups up and running even faster than before. And the next feature is audit logging. Previously, it's been possible to add audit logging for your Comet server from the configuration file, but now you can do it from the Comet server UI as well, making it more accessible and more user-friendly for you to use. At the moment, this feature is only available for Comet self-hosted users. When you do enable audit logging, you can choose from 37 different event types. Mason, please tell us a bit more about this.
Sure. So 37, it seems like a big number. We've really tried to make this as comprehensive as possible. And we were investigating, how does Comet Server trace what actions are taking place? And we actually already had a solution for that, which was the webhook system. So a webhook is a thing where, whenever anything happens in Comet Server, we hook out to an external system. We push a live notification that, something has happened. And we've expanded this system and made it comprehensive to cover anything that can happen inside Comet Server. And the original idea was that, external systems, CloudView, Backup Radar, should be able to receive these push notifications and, sync information from your Comet Server with no delay. But that infrastructure about tracing what happens with no delay, it's perfect for audit logging. So our audit logging feature includes all sorts of things like new accounts, deleted accounts, changed accounts, users logging in, users failing to log in. That's interesting from an audit perspective. We can trace new jobs, updated jobs, finished jobs, jobs that succeed, jobs that fail. We can trace live connections, tenants, server settings changes, storage role buckets, your policies. We can even trace when people are using the new remote registration feature for silent install devices. So it's very comprehensive and it works well with all parts of Comet. Other than just talking about what it can audit, there's a few more options. You can configure where the logs are stored. You can configure how long the logs are kept for. You can configure them on a tenant by tenant basis or overall for the whole self-hosted Comet server. So if you're going for that, SOC 2 compliance or ISO 27001 compliance, this feature will help you meet the controls that you are required to have. So back to you, Ida.
Thank you, Mason. In Saturn, we've also enhanced the policy restrictions, and more specifically, we've added the ability to enforce policies created by a top-level admin onto tenant admins and tenant users. And this allows top-level administrators to enforce settings and preferences across an entire Comet server. I bet you have some more details about this, Mason, don't you?
Sure. So Comet Server has supported multiple admin accounts for a long time. And each admin account has certain permissions that, control what that admin can do. Maybe it's your own server and you can do anything. Maybe you have staff members and staff members can only fix minor issues but can't make big changes. So there's a permission system for admin accounts. We also have multi-tenant support, and so tenants are used for resellers and branding zones and things like that. So if you are a sub-tenant within a larger self-hosted Comet server, there's a different set of permissions that apply to you. For instance, as a top-level administrator of a self-hosted Comet server, I can enforce that my tenant resellers, they're administrators but with limited permission. Maybe they can't use cloud storage, or maybe they can only use cloud storage. Lots of options there. And then finally, for end users, there are permissions that only apply to end users. And we call these policies. You can set up a policy and apply that policy to lots of end users all at once. So it's a very comprehensive system, 3 tiers top to bottom, from the top level administrator, tenant administrator, to end users. And over the last quarter, leading up to Comet 23.11 Saturn, we made a few specific changes. First of all, there are a lot of new settings, so it's now much more comprehensive about what you can enforce. And because we started to get so many new settings, the dialog just got taller and taller, and so we've split this out into a new tab, as you can see. And what we realized was that these permissions only restricted the tenant administrator at the middle level, and not all the way down through these levels to a tenant's customer. So these end user accounts, what an end user can do is just managed by policy. So to make this top down and comprehensive, we've added the missing link, which is to enforce. From your position as a top level administrator, you want to control that this tenant administrator, the user accounts that they create, have a fixed set of policies. So now all three levels are linked together. So once you do that, if this tenant administrator goes to the policies page, they will only see the policies that they're allowed to use. They're limited policies. They will all be non-editable. And the tenant administrator will only be able to create end user accounts that fit within those sort of guidelines that you have set up. So it's great to be able to enforce this all the way through.
Thank you for those details, Mason. Super good. And more enhancements. When restoring a disk image backup job, we've added a fourth option here. So now you can restore a disk image backup as a VMware vSphere compatible virtual disk. And this means that you can do a physical to virtual migration. And previously, when converting a physical machine to a virtual machine, another step was required. So this simplifies the restore process, which is great. Here are some more enhancements that you'll see in Saturn. For those of you who don't know, Comet offers an integration with Gradient MSP to provide a seamless billing integration. And this quarter, we've enhanced this integration. So now it's also possible to aggregate usage using the account name field on a user's profile. For the next improvement, you know that sometimes you can see in the job logs that unexpected backup jobs are running when they aren't scheduled to run, but it can be hard to understand why. And to make this clear, we've added extra detail to every job log to identify if the backup job was triggered by a schedule, a missed backup job, or a device startup. And this should help you to easily understand what caused the device to run the backup out of schedule. Another thing, we also removed any doubt about what backup types you can use when you set up a protected item from the Comet server UI. We've grayed out and disabled the protected item types that are not compatible with the device operating system, which means that all backup types that you can select now, you can use. And the last enhancement that I'll mention on this page is that we improved the Comet server behavior when it fails to start due to licenses issues. So now it starts successfully, but with limited functionality, and it also displays an error message indicating how to identify the issue and fix it. Over to you, Mason, to tell us about the great performance improvements in this release.
Sure. So Comet 23.11 Saturn is faster when doing granular restores. So when you take a disk image backup of a physical PC, or if you take a Hyper-V or VMware backup of a virtual machine, Comet supports granular restore to restore individual files and folders out of that disk image. And in order to do that, Comet has to, parse the disk format, find the partition table, read the NTFS MFT, align, the Comet chunks with an NTFS sector. And so there's a little bit of overhead to that process, but overall it is quite good. It's quick and convenient. And over the course of the last quarter, we have made incredible strides to performance for granular restore. In some cases, it can be even 10 times faster. And this is just a result of thinking about the problem in a different way, removing redundant steps, doing a bit more intelligent caching. And so I'm very proud of what our dev team has been able to achieve here. Comet is now faster when loading large index files from Comet server. So index files, Comet keeps a chunk index for deduplication. The more files that you store in a storage vault, the more chunks there are to deduplicate against. And so the index gets bigger and bigger. Previously, this could cause a bit of a spike in memory usage as Comet was starting up and that index was getting sort of constructed for the first time. but we've been able to optimize that away almost entirely. So for large storage vaults, you should see significantly less of a peak memory usage when Comet's starting up. Comet is now faster when restoring small directories. So Comet restores files and folders in parallel, but in order to do that correctly with permissions and timestamps, sometimes we need to finish one directory before we start with another, and that put really a handbrake on how much parallelism, how many multi-threads we could really do during a restore. So large files, they do the download with multi-threading. Large directories, the files are restored in parallel, but for really, deep directory trees, we were not going as fast as we would have liked. So again, with a bit of rethinking about the problem and some clever queuing theory, we were able to make some nice improvements here. And so you should see improved restore speeds for actually a pretty broad variety of directory shapes and sizes. And the last bullet point here, Comet is faster when uploading to S3-backed storage vaults. So Comet supports a lot of different storage platforms, everything from local paths to RAID and FTP and cloud storage and everything in between. When using S3, whether that's Amazon AWS S3 or S3 compatible storage like Wasabi or Comet Storage powered by Wasabi, there's some situations where Comet needs to keep a file in memory just for a bit longer, just in case your internet connection drops out and we have to retry and upload again. And so we've analyzed all the places where Comet keeps an extra copy around for this retrying purpose. And we found there's one situation where we're keeping 2 copies instead of only 1. So we were able to shave off even more of Comet's memory usage with this neat trick. So uploading to S3-backed storage vaults is now faster and uses less memory. So that's all. Back to you, Ida.
Thank you, Mason. And I don't think you missed that we launched Comet Storage in October, and it's our new cloud storage offering. And this feature is fully integrated, and you can manage it from the Comet account portal, giving you unified billing and reporting across both cloud storage and your backup software licenses. And Comet Storage also supports Object Lock, and this allows you to configure top-tier security and data safety for your users. This new all-in-one Comet Storage offering is both highly convenient and excellent value. And if you're interested in using it, which we hope you are, you can read more about it on our product webpage. And this is not really part of our quarterly release, but I wanted to highlight this anyhow. The Comet account portal has gotten a brand new design, and now it looks more like the updated and refreshed Comet Server UI. And as you can see, the main navigation bar has been moved to the left instead of having it at the top. And it's also more intuitive than before, since we group some pages more logically. So if you haven't already seen this, please log into your Comet account portal and have a look around. And while you're there, download Saturn as well and start using all these new features and enhancements that we talked about today. That's all for this time. Thank you very much for joining us. And please keep posting questions in the chat if you still have some. Or you can send us an email at any time to hello@cometbackup.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much again.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.